You are
239.
now live.
Okay, we are now live. We're going to take up 239. That was the bill that came to us from Health and Welfare that would have had an annual enrollment, open enrollment, so that if you have a Medicare Advantage, you could pick up a supplement. You could move it around. The testimony we had from Blue Cross said they have one, it's an annual federal supplemental Medicare. This is what our premiums are. And we have another one you can join anytime. This is what our premiums are, and the only difference is the risk factor. The concern is adverse selection, that you wait until you're in the hospital bed to do it. On the other hand, a lot of people seem to get taken in by movie stars that tell you you can get all kinds of stuff for free.
It's a dynamite program.
Until you figure out that what you need or that the doctor you need is halfway through New Hampshire.
Were we gonna hear it all from DFR on this?
That's who's on today.
Okay, so I get the whole concern that, one, I support the bill, but I do have the concern that if we move it so we put into motion something, and then we're getting a report that's gonna land not that many months before it would go live. I'm concerned about what does that do to DFR, and everyone will have to file rates, and what if we, for instance, what if we get the report and we say, this is not quite as good an idea as we thought, and now they've already gone down the road of planning, announcing, rate review, et cetera. So I'd be interested in hearing that. If it's not a big deal, then the timing could work perfectly. If it's a bigger deal than we thought, then maybe we adjust the timing.
Yeah, it is somewhat rare to study, to put a solution into law and then say we're gonna study the problem. And if it's not what we think, because the one thing, this might help the folks that bought the Joe Namath plan and now want to switch to a regular supplemental. But if it raises the premiums, it's not going to help that 20% of Vermonters who have no supplemental, and you can bet a lot of, well, some of it is they don't need it, and we need to bear some of the responsibility for not telling them. And then two, if price is an issue now in getting it, raising the rates.
Well, you wind up raising the rate for the person who bought at 65 and has had it all along for all these years with the understanding that the rate would effectively remain flat, and that person is going to get a rate increase presumably in order to make up for this.
So I think those are the things we're looking at. I got Senator Brand and Senator Hardy.
So although it is maybe, I agree, it's unusual to make a change, statutory change, presuming a particular outcome. On the other hand, if there's time to change our minds, that seems so that it wouldn't be a problem. But the value in my mind of making the change now is that I think it makes it certain that this won't slide. And I think for people, so that someone doesn't have to be back here next year starting from scratch on the same issue. And I'd rather see us taking action to address something that's a serious problem for many people, and then making an adjustment if we need to, rather than just waiting for the report and leave, because we all know that despite best intentions, 2 or 3 years could go by.
Okay. Senator Hardy.
I agree with Senator Bray, and I was just going to say, everybody else, before you get to Medicare, who has health insurance has an annual open enrollment. I do for my health insurance plan. You probably do. It just is a standard thing for most health insurance. So I don't understand why once you hit 65, you don't get that. And so this is just implementing something that most of the population already has.
And I think we'll ask Sebastian that, but I think it's the older you get, the larger percentage of healthcare dollars you consume. And you can see the difference in the states that don't community rate, and the older you get, the more you pay. And we community rate, so it's straight across, but if you wait until you're having a heart attack, you put no money into the pool, and then you draw a great deal out, which means everybody else has to put more in.
But you wouldn't be waiting until you have a heart attack, because you would be doing it in this like 6-week period.
That is better.
Unless you have your heart attack in that 6-week period. And I don't know if you would call that lucky or not, but, you know, that, and I also maybe, is community rate, I mean, I know what in concept community rating is, but does that includes all age groups, all
Yes.
communities in the
Yeah.
entire state? So it's
Yeah.
like all Vermonters are in.
That's why younger people can get much cheaper insurance in other states. But the minute you hit 45, you don't find which is when you start to consume more. So, and we can do that because we collect more at the bottom end. If you don't join until you're 75 and likely to be consuming a lot, then everybody has to put more in the pool.
But in a state where most everybody, we have a very low rate of uninsured, officially uninsured, I think it's like 3 to 4%. So presumably in Vermont, most everybody is putting money into the pool at some point in their life. And
Well, they're different pools.
They're different
right?
pools.
So as soon as you're Medicare, you're considered covered for that metric, I should think.
And if you're on Medicaid, you're covered.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No,
I think
that's
it's
okay.
different. I think in terms of the percentage of uninsured, anyone with Medicare would be considered insured.
right, but even before they get to Medicare, because we have such a high rate of insurance coverage in the state, they will have already, I mean, I guess I was trying to counter the
Yeah.
argument of people
But it's-
haven't put in money into the system.
It's different pools,
It is different pools, yes.
and it's different insurance companies frequently, sometimes not. Senator Bray, Sebastian's been waiting, so.
This is a peripheral question, but I am curious what happens to your Medicare dollars that you contribute after 65 while you continue to work. I mean, you could stop working and have you would have no tax on those Medicare dollars.
Okay.
But you continue working, but you are paying premiums for programs that those who choose to stop at 65 don't get. So that one seems peculiar to me. I'm feeling like I must be missing some important information.
I'm not sure that once you go on Medicare, that you continue to pay contributions at your place of work. You pay premiums based upon your income, and it's deducted from your Social Security. But I'm not sure that they take out money once you work. I don't know the situation if you don't take Medicare over 65. And I always get caught in this morass. And then there's all these major medical things where your employer provides better coverage than Medicare.
Yeah,
I don't
we didn't go on Medicare until my husband retired, and that was well past 65.
You know, I remember at one point when I was first in the legislature, there was a provision which legislators could go on Blue Cross, of the state Blue Cross program, paid out of pocket.
Pay it out of pocket,
And I
no.
remember at that time that I went off of Medicare and went on the state's program. And then when I came back, I went back on Medicare and off the state's program when, I left the legislature, 2012.
But to answer your question, I do not think you pay Medicare contributions out of your payroll check.
Yeah.
Once you're on Medicare, you get charged a premium,
That's
and it's means tested now.
Okay, let's
Anyway,
let Sebastian
I don't wanna-
up, and for this, I think we need to find a Medicare specialist to
We do.
help us through. Okay, so Sebastian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
Great. So for the record, Sebastian Arduengo testifying for the Department of Financial Regulation with respect to S-239. And today, my testimony on the bill will largely echo that of the testimony my colleague Emily Brown gave in Senate Health and Welfare, insofar as to say that while the department supports providing additional education and outreach to Medicare beneficiaries about Medicare supplement plans and open enrollment period, as well as creating more transparency around Medicare Advantage plans and Medicare supplement plans, that we don't currently have enough information to support creating an annual open enrollment period in the Med-Sup market. And we'd like more research to be done into these issues and potential implications of changing the open enrollment period. And so while we would support undertaking a study to better understand the existing market, we don't want to change how individuals can enroll in these plans until we have that understanding. While before I came on, I was listening to the discussion, and I wanted to address Senator Hardy's question about what makes the open enrollment period for Medicare supplement and Medicare Advantage plans different from in the individual and small group market. So when you're in the individual and small group market, there is an open enrollment period every year where anyone who wants a plan can get one at the community rate. And the same kind of thing exists in the world of Medicare when a beneficiary first becomes eligible. But after that, plans may be subject to medical underwriting, because in the individual and small group market, people have to buy coverage. But in the Medicare market, there's no requirement to purchase either a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan. So for that reason, we feel like there's more of an adverse selection risk in that market than in, for example, the individual and small group market. I also wanted to address the question about community rating in Medicare plans. And when I say Medicare plans, I'm referring to to Medicare supplement and to a lesser extent, Medicare Advantage, although there are some variations. But in the Medicare supplement market, there are actually two community risk pools. One is the entire population of individuals who are eligible for Medicare because of their age. So basically everyone that is 65 or older. There is another community risk pool for individuals who are eligible for Medicare because of a disability. And we just call that the under 65 risk pool. And under our Medicare supplement statute, insurers that offer plans to the over 65 population have to offer the same plans to the under 65 population. Finally, I wanted to address some of the issues that have been alluded to with respect to Medicare Advantage plans. So I think that the department, like all of you, is well aware of the advertising practices that are happening right now in the Medicare Advantage market, where third-party brokers have these really slick ads with celebrities encouraging Medicare beneficiaries to switch plans. And I sent the committee a comment that the department issued to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services urging CMS to allow states to regulate advertising for Medicare Advantage plans, just like the states are permitted to regulate advertising for Medicare supplement plans. And we see this as the biggest gap in our regulatory authority right now, because all of the regulation for Medicare Advantage advertising is with the federal government right now. Finally, we're also aware that there are issues that can occur when a Medicare beneficiary enrolls in a Medicare Advantage plan and then finds out too late that the provider network is not what they thought it was. Many Medicare Advantage plans achieve the cost savings that they do by offering extremely narrow provider networks. For example, you might be limited to providers within a single health system. So there are protections in federal law for this kind of situation. And under federal law, if a beneficiary joins a Medicare Advantage plan for the first time, they have special rights to buy back into a Medicare supplement policy if they go back to their original Medicare plus Medicare supplement plan within 12 months of joining. So there is that protection that is already in federal law, and that the department is going to work with SHIP coordinators to really spread the word about, because it really is one of the most important protections that's offered in the current Medicare landscape, where there are a lot of new Medicare Advantage plans offering a lot of different benefits and a lot of advertising that could lead beneficiaries to switch into plans they don't fully understand.
Okay, so you're saying that if I fall prey to that slick advertising and I sign up, and then I find out I've got to drive to Concord, New Hampshire to find a free dentist.
Yep.
And that's not working when I've got a toothache in January. That I have a year to say I will go back to my original, or to, maybe I never had a supplement plan. I have a year to go back in without penalty.
That's right.
Okay, so there is a window if you make a mistake.
Yes.
All right.
I thought, I'm sorry, but in that scenario, I thought you had to be within 6 months of turning 65 to sign up at the preferred rate. That's what Blue Cross, wasn't that what the testimony was?
That's referring to a different protection. This is for beneficiaries that are joining Medicare Advantage plans for the first time.
Okay. All right, Senator Bragg.
Sorry, do you want to go with we were talking about the unusual setup in this bill, and that we advanced the change in law, but put off the effective date for a year plus, and then get a report back in the meanwhile. So practically speaking, if we were to go ahead with this, would DFR anticipate that this would be difficult, or it's fine? I mean, I think what I'm trying to understand better is, while you're doing your analysis, what's the timeline for insurers to be filing a new, they have to file new forms, et cetera, or you have to go through review and approvals. I just don't know what all the steps are in your shop. So are we making it difficult for everyone by having these things relatively, in a relatively tight space? Would be back next January, and then we need to act promptly enough so that we, if we were to change things, that we would avert a July 1 switch over or offering.
Yeah, so as far as whether it's technically feasible for the department to implement the changes in S239, it would be, but like Emily testified to in Senate Health and Welfare, our concern is that by signaling that we are going to move to an annual open enrollment period, that will change the market now as issuers start pricing in the risk of adverse selection into their rates.
Okay, so you've been clear that you would like to study the issue, because I think as we're finding out it's complex, before making a decision.
That's right, and the department fully recognizes that the proliferation of plans in the Medicare Advantage space is an issue, and that's why we're working to increase our education and outreach, and really encourage beneficiaries to consider carefully before switching out of original Medicare or original Medicare plus Medicare supplement into these Medicare Advantage plans.
I think we heard we are, at the rate we're going, about 50% of the supplements, the other than straight Medicare, will be Medicare Advantage plans shortly. So if nothing else, we need to look at what that's going to do to the remaining pool. Because if you're going there, we're shrinking the pool we've got, right? In the pool and the supplement plans.
Yes, as enrollment in Medicare Advantage increases relatively, then enrollment in Medicare supplement decreases, but the department has worked to ensure that premiums in the Medicare supplement market are as low as they can be, and it's our opinion that implementing this without knowing what we're getting into could potentially lead to overall higher premiums in the med sup market, and just have the effect of encouraging even more Medicare beneficiaries to transition into Medicare Advantage plans.
Okay, I've got Senator Sorokin and then Senator Gray.
So forgive me, Madam Chair, I'm confused. I'm reading the bill. Did Health and Welfare vote on this bill?
Pardon me?
Did Health and Welfare vote on this?
Yes, we did.
Because I looked at the calendar and it said you just advanced it to finance. So did you voted on it and you didn't make any changes?
We did make some changes.
Finance, okay, go ahead.
And so the bill that is draft 1.3.
Okay.
So
Couldn't find it in the calendar.
we added some things into the report, and we can't remember exactly what else we did to it.
So I don't see any delayed effective date on going to annual enrollment. Looks like it happens. on-
No, the effective date happens,
In a year, right?
no, takes effect on
It was
passage.
Jane, yeah. No, it's when it's,
Oh.
the study, it went in, the study comes in next
Thank you.
December, January. It goes into effect a year from July.
Right, it goes into their
So
July
we
one
could
twenty.
do this study and then make a decision based on what we've learned.
We did the same thing with this bill and the next bill that you'll see.
Yes,
Actually.
and the next, if we get to the next bill,
So the timing of this is that the study comes in December. And if there was a change to be made to the law, it would have to be made next session, right?
Correct.
Have to be
And then
undone.
we made change to the law next session, let's assume March 1st, we get it through the entire body, and we make it effective on passage. You're saying, Sebastian, that in 4 months' time, for the July 1st starting date, you can change the rates?
Yeah, I'm saying that it's technically feasible to implement this change and have the issuers in the market alter their filings accordingly. I'm not saying that the department supports doing that.
So there's no minimum amount of notice you need to make that change? I mean, let's say the legislature makes this change on June 1st. Are you going to be able to send a notice out to insurers to change your rates? Because we're going back to the old system by July 1st?
I think a month of lead time would not be feasible, but what my testimony was in reference to was having 4 months of lead time.
Hard to pass a bill for 2 months.
but you would prefer to study it, because if this comes back and says it is the worst idea possible, we've got 4 months to not just change the law, but change
2 months.
all the public information. And I mean, just changing the law isn't it. It's how do you let the public know what's going on? Right now, the problem is the public doesn't know if they get out and then come back in, they're gonna have to pay premium to make up for the time they weren't paying into the pool. So it's not just changing the law, it's changing everything. Okay,
Part of the also our logic was that if we wait, then it would actually delay it even longer, because the open enrollment period we would miss the open enrollment period for 2023, so delay it.
What is the open enrollment for 2023?
No, it's in November.
It's in November.
So we would miss the November because
Maybe January 1st.
the rates would already be set and that everything, so it would delay it to 2024 anyway.
I mean, for healthcare, from a healthcare perspective, giving people as much choice as possible is a good thing. That's what health and welfare did. We're the insurance committee. We've got to look at insurance rates and what's the best thing for the pool, which will, in the end, be the best thing for people. If we can keep the pool healthy and alive, and we still are not doing anything about that 19-20% who don't have any supplement. Presumably a fair amount of them are cost or just lack of knowledge, and we've got to figure out some way to deal with both of those. Senator Bee.
Senator Bray, I don't want to jump
Senator
in.
Bray.
Well, I was just trying to, it's sort of on lines of what Senator Sriracha was asking. It seemed as though you said it's technically feasible, but I'm just trying to figure out how all the filings and would happen. So I don't want to worry about something that's not my shop, but I was expecting you to say that it's feasible, but could cause some amount of havoc. And it sounds like you're not quite saying that. So I'm a little confused as to whether or not we should consider moving out the effective date. Possibly.
Yes. To clarify my testimony, by technically feasible, I meant could be done, but would cause a fair amount of havoc. Technically feasible, I was using that term to mean not impossible, but very inconvenient, in other words.
And it could add to confusion.
So.
Yes.
The thing I wonder if we can, worth discussing is changing that effective date, pushing it out to July 1 of 24. So the report comes back, there's a full legislative session without any sort of sword hanging over our heads like act now or else. And then we would know that we're on track to bring that benefit to people, but we wouldn't be causing hardships for insurers or the department, because honestly, it sounds like the current timing sounds like it could cause some hardship for havoc. Where we started havoc and hardship.
Yeah, I mean, we try and change insurance rules in February, we're told we're already filing our rates, and
Well, should it be January?
well, what are
January
we
24th?
pushing the effective date? You're proposing, I don't know that we've
So
agreed.
the proposal would be then to move that, add a year to the timeline and push the effective date of the change we propose to July 1, 24.
Sort of the opposite of sunset, right? It's gonna happen
Unless we
unless
make
we
it not
undo
happen.
it, which we'll really decide after the report comes back.
I mean, that's what's already in there, is the
Right.
delayed effective date. This is just delaying the effective date
Further
more.
delay.
So, forgive me, but the annual enrollment period is the period that people are looking for is October to January? Is that when you want to use them to be, affect the new community rating or the new open enrollment is for those periods? So in order to make that work for that fall period, you have to have a law in effect by July 1st, which this bill does, but if we wanted to change it, it might be difficult to change it before everything started off on its way without having it.
So if it's helpful to clarify, then I would move that we amend the bill to include changing the effective date, pushing out by a year
The effective date
Of the
of
change.
the change, so
of the
July.
change from a year.
So you wanna give a year and a half.
Okay, Jen has got her hand up. Yes, help Jen.
Thank you. Hi, Jen Carby, Legislative Counsel. I just looked up to find out when the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period is. And according to CMS, the Medicare.gov, there is a Medicare Advantage, which is what this open enrollment would track with, open enrollment period from January 1st to March 31st each year. Don't know if that affects your
Well, we could
thinking, but I want you to have the right date.
And then have it go in next year with any,
But doesn't that undermine Sebastian's chaos theory?
yeah.
Yeah, because this would give them 6 months to be able to do it,
Yeah.
that was just plenty of time.
If you put, right now, we have it going in July 1st, don't we?
Yeah, next year.
Next year, and the report coming back either January 1st, December something. And that would give us one legislative year, half a session, to decide if we're going forward or if we're gonna pull back. And we can't do that if it goes into effect January 1st, 2023. So we'd have to push the date out at least the 24.
No, I think the date
We're
we have in
doing it
here.
now.
The date in here now is July 1, 2023. So if another open enrollment isn't until January of 2024, that should be
Okay.
6 months, that's
Okay.
plenty of time.
Yeah.
'Cause
And I have to
other-
tell you, there are two different types of open enrollment periods showing for Medicare Advantage. There seems to be the sign up for one. I'm on CMS. You'd think it would be clearer, but there's an open enrollment period from October 15th to December 7th, where you can join, switch, or drop a plan. And there's a Medicare Advantage open enrollment period from January 1st to March 31st each year. If you're enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, you can switch to a different plan. So I guess I'm not even sure which one we are referring to now that I'm looking at these in the
I
bill.
don't know that we know.
Yeah, but I think that even if it's even if it's October, it should be enough time to avoid havoc. And the legislature, even if the legislature acts on May 1st, 2023, that's like 6 months.
So we're gonna make a decision without studying the impact on the insurance market.
Well, we're gonna make a presumption. Yeah, I mean, the big thing for the advocates of this bill is they have the presumption of a law, and it's always harder to pass another law than to pass one in the first place. I think everybody realizes that making their substantive case now.
If it hurts.
and
Well, we
We're
have-
used to saying in our bills either may or shall. Now we've added might.
Oh, Senator Brock.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I'm uncomfortable doing this, given that we could have negative consequences on those who have no supplemental insurance. That we could, depending on what we do, because Maine is the only one that has any kind of similarity to Vermont's rates, and they allow an open enrollment, but you have to take an equal or lesser plan. So you couldn't go from an A base to a D plan, which is the highest. You could go from an A plan to an A plan, or you could go from a B to an A, but you couldn't move up. Other than that, it looks like the rates go up, which is not helping people unless you're rich people, so.
I think what this comes down to is faith in this committee and this legislature to look at this issue next year, because even if we don't pass it now, we have the same opportunity with the benefit of the report to pass it next year and still affect the same effective enrollment period that this bill does. And it really is a different way than you generally do legislation. Unless you think we're not going to act on it next year, if we get a favorable report, then
What if we get a negative?
well, then a negative report would be that we did the right thing. I think that, we didn't act before.
No, a negative report is
Well,
you
you'd have
did
to
the
repeal
wrong
it.
thing. We'd have to repeal it.
No, I think I'm agreeing with you. I would not go forward in this order of this bill.
Okay, so you would not enact a
We
solution
can
until
do
we
this.
studied it.
We can accomplish everything that the advocates want in this bill next year. If it's a good.
You want to study.
Yeah, but the study can
Yeah,
come
okay.
done in a time enough to affect the exact same
Yeah.
enrollment period.
Okay. Sir Pearson, I don't think I.
So- Would it be okay to ask the healthcare advocate a question?
Yeah,
Because,
he can come up to the witness. But I will say, I have had complaints that the healthcare advocate was in person and Blue Cross Blue Shield was relegated to the big screen, which they felt was an unfair.
Well, at this point-
advantage. Ask one question.
one question, better make it a good one.
Yeah.
So the thing that gives me pause about this discussion is that we have a lot of broke seniors in this state, no question about it, and they're living on fixed income. And for once, we saw a chart yesterday that showed that our supplemental packages insurance were among the cheapest if you got in early, right? And I think, and this is foggy, so this is sort of where my questions come. That if you enroll right out of the gate when you're beginning your Medicare timeline, so when you're beginning to get covered by Medicare, if you enroll, you get among the nation or certainly the region's cheapest supplemental. That's good if you're worried about broke seniors who live on fixed income because they're deciding a fixed rate, they're committing to that. Then Blue Cross showed us a chart that compared our rates to other states, all of which were basically higher. There was a little bit of variation, and most of which had some version of more of an open enrollment. And unlike a lot of times when I'm trying to get things, Blue Cross comes in and says, oh my God, we've done the calculation, this will be a 6% increase in rates. And there's no way to look at that data and really understand they seem to suggest yesterday that, hey, what you're discussing is being done elsewhere. Here's what their rates are. That seemed kind of clean to me. And so my question though, because I believe the healthcare advocate referenced something about why that chart was not as straightforward as I took it to be. And I'd love helping understanding that, because I am quite sympathetic to this timeline problem that I think we maybe are all somewhat sympathetic. Either you get in 6 months, or you've cost yourself a lot of money, even if you're just didn't know, and then there's all these celebrity plans, whatever. So can you help me understand better why we wouldn't expect the rates to climb in the way that, or maybe your analysis of why those charts were not as scary as maybe they were?
So Senator Pearson and Madam Chair, let me answer your question and try and make peace here at this moment. So first off, yes, I did mention yesterday that there was on the chart provided by Blue Cross Blue Shield, it had a few states labeled as annual open enrollment period when they really had continuous open enrollment periods. And so that was the point I made yesterday, that it is not an apples to apples comparison to suggest that we would have rates similar to states that have continuous open enrollment periods.
Continuous open enrollment anytime.
Yes.
And what you're suggesting, this bill, is like a 3-month window.
Yes, an annual, like we do for other healthcare products. So to the question about, do you study it first before you pass the law? I get it. Obviously, well, let me just tell you just a moment of background. A little bit more than 2 years ago, I was having this exact same fight upstairs in healthcare, and we arrived at very much the same place. We really need to study it. Well, then the pandemic happened, and there's lots of good reasons why we never got to study it, but we never did. We came back this session with the exact same conversation. Maybe we should study it. And so I think we've made our point. I think the point has been made very clearly. I don't want to just study it. I've been on many sides of this business. We, in my previous role here and currently, we study a lot of things that we know come back to. Even we study and get advice to do things that we know that we don't do. And so I was looking for a way to say, hey, you can't bind a future legislature's actions. I know that, but hey, legislature, you really got to look at this next year. You really got to take some action. That was sort of the concept. I don't want to cause upset, or what was the term? Havoc in the insurance market. I don't want to raise rates for people who are, even if we don't make a change. This idea of postponing it another year to create some breathing room, it would be a way to do that. I think also enough of us will be at the table here next year, and it'll be hard to forget this conversation that we really promised that we would come back to it. So I'm relenting a little bit on section 1. I still would prefer to have section 1 in the bill, postpone it another year to drive home the fact that we're really needing to look at it again. But I also feel like the point has been made clearly that we don't want to just study it and not take a look at that help?
Yes.
But we haven't ever studied it, right?
It was a COVID.
Which, yeah, but who knows?
So
We should be in World War III here, but. But if we put it in law that it will be studied, then it will be studied. And it will come back as a report. And I think I can pretty much guarantee you there will be a bill in based on that report. And I think you'll probably have the same members of health and welfare still floating around.
Unless it goes to the report warehouse, where most of the reports seem to go that we ask for.
Yes. Well, we get coffee. So, all right. I have told people that this committee will still be meeting at 5 o'clock. So we're gonna,
I don't have a meeting until 6 tonight.
until
I
6.
have 5:30. I have judicial retention, sorry.
Is there a meeting at 6?
I
All
believe so.
right, we're gonna be meeting till 6. All right.
Well, we don't have to fill the entire time.
No, but we do need to get some of these bills out because they've got to go to approps. This
Right.
one doesn't.
Well, I would make a motion.
Okay.
I don't know what it exactly is, but I know what I want to accomplish.
What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
I guess the simplest thing is just to do the study by December.
Okay,
Strike section 1.
so your motion is to strike section 1, which would
Yes.
be
So
the enactment clause and do the study. Let's see if we want to add anything to the study. Because I don't think health and welfare talked a whole lot about.
We added some things for the study.
It's 239.
Yes. Because we added the end-stage renal disease and Vermonters under 65 with disabilities.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so we're striking section 1. Jen's still with us.
one other thing to the study, but now I don't remember what it was. Jen might know.
I'm just looking at there were only 3 things. I think you added, the Senate Health and Welfare Committee added the 4th item under B, and that's the reasons that some Medicare beneficiaries do not have secondary coverage and the policy options available to increase their access.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Can I ask Jen a question?
Yep.
Jen, I don't know if, well, I'd like to ask you if are there any options besides sort of this all or nothing or an annual open enrollment or, you know, the very limited time we have now? Because what I keep wondering about is, you know, between the disinformation, the lack of organization for some people, particularly folks that are, you know, a little more strapped, just the pinch of life, if you will. I kind of am wondering if there's, like, what if we had open enrollment for the first 5 years that you were Medicare eligible, as opposed to like the 6-month window closes and now you're in the more expensive universe. And I don't know, is that ridiculous? Or do we have any idea if that's possible, or if any other state does anything like that? Is it truly all one or the other that's kind of in front of us?
I think the healthcare advocate has looked more into what other states are doing than I have. I think the question I would have about something like a first 5 years, I don't know if you're talking continuous open enrollment or annual open enrollment during those periods, but is just whether that is operational. You know, something that the insurers could do.
That may be something then to ask.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, ask the study to look at alternatives to a 6-month drop dead window, to expanding that window and impacts on the insurance market if we did that. impact on the market if we just, I'm not sure what the advantage of telling you you could switch back and get a lesser or equal supplement program is, if there's even that same equal, but other possible solutions that or options. And Sarah's got her hand up.
I'm sure Sarah Teachout for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Vermont. Another possible addition to the study is anything else DFR would like to examine. And then I think that would be a catch-all for all the types of ideas that you have.
That's a good one. But issues may come up, and they may, you know, to say, well, it wasn't in our charge, so we're not going to study it. I think we had a weighting study that said that, you know, it makes you a little nervous.
Yeah,
We studied everything.
They look at whatever they want. I don't care.
Yes,
It looks like paragraph E on page 2. Jen, did we add that paragraph? I think this is about educating the public, or was that in the original bill?
No, you added that, but that's not in the study. That was going to go in the statutory language.
Right, and that, if you guys are gonna go with this, just the study, which I probably will vote against, by the way, but sticking with my healthcare people, we might want to keep paragraph E, because that's just collaborating with health insurers to educate the public.
And I think some of that is reflected in B3 at the bottom of page 3 already, but I can include some more language. This is talking about whether Vermonters are getting accurate information and sufficient assistance, and if not, how best to remedy that.
Well,
we can move some more of that language over.
But this is not a study. This is a directive to, you know, try to inform people as we, because that's separate to whether or not we should make these changes, it seems to me.
I see. I'm sorry, Senator Hardy, were you recommending keep E? It keeps section 1 with E in it only and not add the, I'd make it D, but not add, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm saying if my colleagues are gonna go with just doing the study, I would like them to keep E, because that would continue to have the directive to DFR in statute that they need to help educate people. So
yes.
does that make sense, Jen?
It does, if that's something the committee wants to do, I think that's certainly easy enough to accomplish.
I don't think anyone objects that. Okay, committee, are we comfortable with having Jen draft that and bring it back?
So it's striking the section 1, but keeping that directive around education. And could we add some kind of catch-all to other creative ideas that DFR wants to look at to solve this problem?
Right, so what I think I understand is you wouldn't be striking out all of section 1, you'd be striking out section 1, what is currently D1 and 2, and keeping what is E, which I would re-letter as D. And then in section 2, the study, you talked about adding, I don't know if you want to both add the catch-all for anything else DFR wants to look at, and add something about looking at other options instead of annual or continuous open enrollment periods, or if you feel like that's captured in the anything else.
No, I just assume suggest it if he's open to that.
Okay. Okay. We're done with that one, I think.
Or we're gonna wait to vote till Jen comes
Yeah, we'll
back.
get the final copy in and then we'll vote, hopefully first thing tomorrow. But I think we're gonna have a very long floor session tomorrow, so hopefully we'll be back.
So far on the calendar, we have H bills tomorrow. So.
Yeah, then we can bump all of those.
Madam Chair, I spoke
Yes.
to the Senate Secretary. He's anticipating roughly, I think we'll only go 2 hours.
I think Senator Hardy and I can take up 2 hours.
Yeah, well, I want to know, because I have 3 bills up, and if I don't have to have 3 bills ready tomorrow, I'd rather not have to
Okay,
stay
he's
up
gonna
till
say
3 in the
just go
morning.
2 hours.
Are we- are we starting here at 10 or up on the floor at 10?
Floor.
Before 10.
Can I just run up and ask him before he leaves?
Yep, and we're gonna go on.
Yeah. Oh, is it the birthing center bill then? I should say for that.
This is the mental health peer support specialist. But,
We'll start at 9:30
I'll be right
or
back.
we'll do it.
Sorry, my button here.
and
Now let's get a line then.
Yes.
Jen,
Force these
no, this is
Allison
Katie's bill,
Upstairs.
and we are running late.
So you are not trying to vote this bill out today? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, well, we'll get it out. That one doesn't have to go to approach. But the next, S-195, may not need to go to approach, but they have the companion bill on the other side, which does involve a fair amount of money. So I'd like us to be able to make a decision on that. And the birthing centers will just stick on tomorrow. That's also a fee. This is a fee. And Katie, are you still with us? Because if we don't, there's Katie.
I am. Hello.
This one we're gonna take up, 195. Katie, can you give us the 10,000 foot, just what this bill does? Our
Sure.
jurisdiction is a fee, and I'm hoping that Emily Paz is the Commissioner of Mental Health, and they, I believe, are the ones who are going to be administering this program. So I want to see what she thought about the fee adequacy, inadequacy. Okay? Okay, so floor is yours.
Thank you. Katie McGlynn, Office of Legislative Counsel. We're looking at S-195, and contrary to the title it currently has, this bill is really 2 bills put together. The first part of the bill has to do with the certification of mental health peer support specialists. And this bill sets up a process by which the Department of Mental Health contracts different entities to develop the certification program, and then to do the training and eligibility screening for the program, and lastly, run the certification program, maintain a roster, and maintain the testing and other qualifications needed to obtain that certification. In this section of the bill, or the first half of the bill, I think the language that this committee is likely most interested in is in section, let's see. Oops, I skipped right over it. There's a section in the bill that talks about fees, and basically, oh, there it is. Page 10, section 8508, certification fee schedule. So instead of setting up a fee schedule in this bill to maintain the peer support certification specialty program, this language says that any fees required for the administration of the peer support specialist certification program that's set forth in the chapter will be by the process that's set forth in statute in Title 32. So it says if they need money to operate this program, then the fees will be established according to the statutory process, and it doesn't set fees here. So that is the first half of the bill. The second half of the bill creates peer-operated respite centers. And there's some legislative language, there's some definitions. But at the bottom of page 16, 8553, this tells the department to annually distribute funds to geographically distinct peer-run and peer-led organizations to operate these peer-led community centers. I will say that there is a problem in the bill in that, and it doesn't affect the money or the fiscal note, is what I think you'll hear from Nolan, but it probably should be fixed at some point in the process. This bill is based on an understanding that there are 2 existing peer-operated respite centers, when in fact there is only currently 1 peer-run center. So the peer-operated respite center. So on line 19 of page 15, it says that annually the department is to distribute funds to a total of 6 geographically distinct peer-run centers. But because only 4 are being added, that number should be 5. And similarly, this section is amended on July 1, 2025 to add 2 more peer-operated respite centers. So right now on page 17, line 3, where this change is happening, the number says 9 and it should be 8 to reflect that there's only 1 existing peer-operated respite center. Again, the appropriations in the bill don't need to be changed, but those numbers should be updated at some point in the process.
Okay, this bill is going to approach though, right?
I believe so. There are
So
multiple
we can let
appropriation
them
sections.
deal with how many they're going to do, and they can
Okay.
do, if we can just approve the fee, because I'd like to get this out and get it to approach. So why don't you walk us over to where the fee is?
Okay. Like I said, that is the language. I believe it was on page 10. I'm scrolling back up in my draft. Yep, page 10, 8505. So again, this fee language has to do with the mental health peer support certification program. The language itself is not establishing a fee, but it's saying that if fees are required for the administration of this peer support specialist certification program that's being created in this bill, then those fees should be requested pursuant to the process that's set up in statute under Title 32. So the regular request for fees through the executive branch, they would have to go through that process to adopt any fees.
And there's no fee set in here.
I thought we put a fee in, but I guess not.
Okay, so then I guess I don't need to ask the commissioner if the fee is adequate. All right. Second party, would you like to make a motion?
Sure.
Then we'll have to.
And this, just one question, this process is the fee bill process, basically, Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It is, yep. It's Title 32, Chapter 7, Subchapter 6. It talks about in Section 603, fee creation. Any new fee shall be established by Act of the General Assembly, which shall designate the service. So it's it's the process that's set forth in statute for determining fees.
Okay, then I will make the motion to approve.
Vote it out favorably.
Yeah, to vote out favorably as approved as recommended by the Senate Health and Welfare.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
That's the word.
that's the
Thanks,
word.
Senator.
Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, I need a reporter, which just says we'll do it favorably, but I don't know if the Senate office is still open or not.
I could do that. If that
Okay.
helps. Unless one of you healthcare folks wants it.
Bruce got 3 right now.
I'll get a break out of my canvas.
That's right, you need it, you need it.
I need something a little more.
Okay, well, that was easier than I thought it might be. And then, so maybe we can do 204. And that's Jen. Is Jen still with us?
No, I can try to get her.
No, that's okay. That one I think we can do in 5 minutes. That's another, just the licensing fee. So
Okay, are you ready to end live stream?
I think we're ready to end